Alright, so today I'm going to go over what I want to see from the Steel Ball Run adaptation. So I think the way we should do this is go from most important to least... From least important to most important. Things that don't really matter, and then up to things that I really care about. Alright, so least important first, I think, is accents for the characters. Like Gyro having an Italian accent, and Johnny having like a southern accent because he was born in Kentucky. Dio's a foregone conclusion because we know who's going to voice Dio. We know what Dio sounds like when he's voiced by that voice actor. It's fine. I don't have to worry. I don't think anybody has to worry about Dio. Something with Valentine that I think will be interesting to do is make him, like, the way that he enunciates things. They should make it like an old-fashioned president would, So, if you don't know, there's this way of speaking that was, there's like a whole, like, practice behind it. It's called oratory, right? It's different ways you can pronounce parts of a sentence so that it can throw your voice better, back before they had microphones, stuff like that. And so, old presidents, there's some recordings of how presidents in the late 1800s sound. They spoke in a very peculiar way, but it was so that their voice was loud and commanding, so that it could carry across like a giant group of people back when they didn't have technology to do that. So, and just in general, when you're a president and you're making a formal address, you word things strategically. I think they should have Valentine speak like that. Should he have an accent? I think it should be, non-regional. But, again, I say this is the least important because I don't really care. Like, the characters in Part 5 didn't have Italian accents. The characters in Part 3 didn't have their native accents. Aphil just sounded like a normal person. Paul and Rupp just sounded like a normal guy. So it's not that big of a deal, but it would be kind of cool to see. So that's one thing. Alright, another thing that would be interesting to see, but that's extremely unlikely, is I want them to play Tusk when Johnny gets Tusk. 0% chance it happens, because they're already so scared of copyright that they can't name the stand Surface. The word surface they think will be copyrighted for some reason. I don't know the mechanics behind that, but in my perfect version of it, they would play Tusk, and as it got to that point in the song when it like started ramping up, he gets Act 4. So I think that would be cool to see. Another thing is, because of the amount of episodes it would take to adapt Part 7, that it might be 2 seasons. So Stardust Crusaders was technically 2 seasons, at the anime-wise, because it had, 49 or 48 episodes. While most of the other seasons, like Part 4 and Part 5, and then later Part 6, had, 39 episodes. So Steel Ball Run's going to have around 50. It's going to be around 50, definitely. So, if they make it 2 seasons, I would prefer if they only did 1. Again, that depends on how they do it, if they release it weekly or not, or if they release it in batches. Another thing, while we're on the topic, I want weekly releases. I think it would be cool. I mean, it's not that... Now that I've read Steel Ball Run before I'm going to watch the show of it, I know what's going to happen at each part, right? I know, okay, so we're going to do the Tomb of the Boom fight first, and then, Mountain Tim's going to show up for Oyo Como Va later, and, all this stuff. I know the order in which things are going to happen, but it's seeing them adapted, so I'll appreciate it in a different way. Because when I was watching JoJo the first time, I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? I didn't know. I was new to the series. Now that I'm more versed in it, and I've read the thing that they're adapting, I appreciate it in a different way. So I would rather have weekly releases. When I got into the show, and I wanted to just get the next episode because I was hooked into it, I wanted to just watch it all at once. So I was like, why is everyone mad that part 6 is coming out in big batches? That's cool, because I get to see more episodes of it at once. But now that I've read the whole thing, I understand why people want weekly releases, and I agree. I agree with that. The other thing that I want to see is... Let me think before I get to the big ones. I want for... I guess more general stuff. I would prefer if the opening and the ending fit the part in a way, just, as the other seasons did. So I think they should, if they're gonna have multiple openings, I mean part 4 had multiple openings, and part 7 is gonna have way more episodes. So what they should do is they should go with 2, maybe 3 openings, maybe 2 endings. Part 5 had 2 endings. But for the openings, I think they should stick to more old-fashioned, Western songs or country songs, like Marty Robbins, something like that. And then for the ending, they could go a similar direction. But I think to fit the vibe, that's what they should do. Let's go for more old-fashioned songs that fit the theme of it. But, they haven't had a problem with fitting the theme for their songs in the past, so I don't expect them to have a problem with that in the future. And, alright, so it's kind of hard to talk about what I want for release date, because I don't know. I'm not working at David Productions, so I don't know what the schedule is like for how much they've done so far, how much they still have to do, how much time it would realistically take for the work to be a certain quality. I don't know. I don't really have any idea of that. These destroyers? The destroyers drop blood of the mountain I'm trying to get sulfurous. So I can't really say what release date I would want, and because I also don't know if they're going to release it in batches or not. One thing that I would kind of be fine with is, even if they are releasing it weekly, since it's Netflix and they can kind of do whatever they want, if they release the first couple episodes at once, and then the rest of it will be weekly, I think that would be fine. Because if you split up the episodes as they split up the episodes before, nothing really happens in the first couple chapters. They're important. I'm not saying, nothing happens, but nothing there's no action, right? It's setting everything up. In the other parts, the first episodes had, big spectacle things happen. The first episode of part 3, right? They introduced, this is what stands are, because it was a new thing in the series. But nothing really happened within that episode. Same with part 2. It's introducing Joseph as a character. But nothing happens important within that episode. Happens in the next episode. So, maybe release the first 3? I'm trying to think. I think the first 3 would be fine if they released that, even though the rest of them should be weekly. Okay, so one of the bigger things is Funny Valentine and whether he's fat or not. So I made a video, and it said that Funny Valentine will not be fat in the Steel Ball Run anime. And I've got a little bit of pushback on that, so allow me to explain myself for a minute. So the reason why Araki changes his art style, one of the reasons why, why characters look so different between the art style changes, is that he wants to convey a change in their personality, or a change in how we're supposed to perceive them. I keep using this as an example, but it's a good example, and I feel it's directly applicable. But Hazamada in part 4, in the manga, he changed to be shorter because he's less threatening. He's kind of like, he's not really a villain anymore. He's just kind of hanging out with everybody, you know? So, he's similar in size to Koichi in the Let's Go to the Mangaka's House little chapter where they introduce Rohan, and Hazamada's there with him, you know? So, like Funny Valentine, for example, when we first saw him in the first couple times, he was like a little frumpy. He was kind of fat, and the way that he acted was kind of different than how he ended up acting when he was in the story proper in D4C and stuff. But that was because we were supposed to change how we see him, in a way. Something that I've seen pointed out, I forget where, I just remember that somebody pointed this out and I agree with it, is it's like the difference between Clark Kent and Superman, right? Like when Superman is Clark Kent, he like hunches over, he acts more like a nerd, because he's trying to like throw people off as to how he's really acting. And that could be like what they could do with Valentine. So to maintain that shift in how the viewer is supposed to perceive the character, they could initially show him as fat and then make him more buff later, just to maintain its JoJo-ness. But, you know, I don't think they should do it just because that's how that looked. I would be fine either way. But I'm saying like if that's the context in which they do it, then that would make sense. So I don't really care about that much. I guess to round things up, something else that I would want to see is I'm trying to think of a specific way to word this. I guess okay, so back to character designs. I'll get back to that. Back to character designs. I saw some criticism over how, like, they released the Johnny and Gyro character designs, and they look kind of simple compared to their manga counterparts. But that makes sense, because they have to animate them constantly moving around for 50 some odd episodes, while Araki could spend, like, months on one picture of them. So like, he could spend a whole week on a still image of Johnny so it can look as good as he wants, right? It doesn't matter. But with the show, they have to be, like, animated. So I don't have a problem with the character design. What we don't have is the character designs for other characters. So because the way color works in JoJo is weird, because the manga is a black and white. The medium, like, that's the original, the canon is the black and white manga, straight from Araki's brain and his hand writing it out. So a lot of the colors aren't really canon. Like, they were colorized, yeah, but they were colorized by I forget the company that did it. I think it was Shueisha Jump or whatever. But the colors that they chose. Like, they picked them. They're not necessarily canon. While some colors, depending on the context of the story, are canon. Like, for example, Giorno having blonde hair. It's canon because it's important that in the story that his hair changed to blonde, because it was an indication that, like, the Dio DNA inside of him was, like, triggered by there was a powerful stand user in Italy. You know, that being Diavolo. And so it was good for Jotaro to know that. Well, other things aren't really that important. And they made a lot of mistakes. Like, there was one part in part 6 where it was a backstory. Like, it was one of the flashbacks to when Pucci was talking to Dio. And it was bright outside, even though Dio's a vampire. So that doesn't make any sense. But the only justification I could think of why that was because in that scene in the original, it's white outside, but there are other scenes where the sky is left white and not colored in black, and we know it takes place at night, like the Jotaro Dio fight in Part 3. You know it takes place at night. And even though it does take place at night, the whole fight only takes place over, like, what, 2 minutes? Something like that? Like, all those chapters, like the 10th JoJonium collection volume in English that they released, you know, with the JoJonium covers. Like, the 10th one, that whole thing is basically the Jotaro Dio fight. And that whole thing only takes place over, like, 3 minutes. So there's no way it could have gone from... Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. They made all kinds of mistakes. Giorno's suit being blue for one of them. While in the anime, when they needed to, you know, an anime needs to be in color, they went to Araki for a lot of the consulting of what the color should be. So that's why in the anime, Giorno is purple, while in the manga, Giorno was blue, because Araki was the one that consulted them on that. So he said that, you know, we should make Giorno's thing purple. And he made everyone else's colors fit with each other in the ways that he wanted, because he knows those characters, because he made those characters. So, I think that we don't really know what a lot of the colors could be in the Steel Ball Run adaptation. I'm just going to say, like, my preferences, just to round off this video. I'm kind of rambling. But my preferences for what the color should be, again, I don't know what's in Araki's mind when he made the characters or what he thinks would work best for the anime, but I'm just going to say what I would like. So, first off, Johnny and Gyro, I would have preferred a blue Johnny, but that's fine. You know, the white is fine. Again, I assume it's Araki's thing. Gyro is just the same. He just looks the exact same as the way he's colored in all the, like, colored manga versions of him. Diego, there's the light blue, like kind of cyan, and then the other main one that he's shown in is green, that he's drawn in a lot. In the colored of the manga, he's that blue. I prefer the blue, again, for Diego. And I think it works well. For Valentine is the thing. He's either shown typically as white, or he's shown as pink, his suit. I prefer the pink. I think I said this in a video before, but it's how, like, the colors on Johnny and Valentine work off of each other when they're confronting each other at the end of their fight. I think it works better when Valentine is pink and when Johnny is blue, just visually. But I understand going with the white, so I don't really care if they do that, but I would prefer the pink. Hot pants, I think it's fine. You know, I think if they could just go with the manga one. I haven't really seen any alternative colors for her. Mountain Tim, you can do whatever you want. Magenta would be kind of cool based on, like, you know, just how his outfit looks if you gave him, like, a slightly different design. I think that would be interesting. Wekapipo, you could do, like, you go a little bit crazy with Wekapipo. I think. Again, because he's more interesting. Oh, here's another big one. Is Oyakomo Va. Like, on Oyakomo Va's face, he has, like, the stars and then the stripes. I think that they should color that like the colors of the American flag. Because I think that it's just all blue. The way that he's colored normally. So, I think that they should make it the actual, like, colors of that the American flag is. I think that would be cool because it's clearly what it is. And I don't see the harm in it. I'm trying to think of what other things would have colors. black more, like on his hockey mask thing. And he has like these 3 stripes, and the colors that they are now are fine. You know, I think they should go with that. Lucy Steele, they could change the color of what she wears. They could change it from pink to white or green to fit with Stephen Steele or whatever. But that's not important. But stands, I am like, hold on. Stands need to be important. So, Gyro's steel balls. Alright, let's talk about Gyro's balls for a second. So, Gyro's balls, I forget where them being green came from. I just know that it's pretty much canon that they're green at this point. And they even showed them green when they showed the character design of Gyro, because they're just out, like on his belt. So his ball is going to be green. So Ball Breaker is going to be green, because his steel ball turns into Ball Breaker. So that's what color that's going to be. Tusk, it needs to be pink. This is my only hard requirement for colors. Tusk needs to be pink. It's just so, like, iconic at this point. You know? I don't see why Araki would change that. If he does, you know, maybe I could get used to it at some point. But right now, I'm expecting a pink Tusk. Pink Tusk with yellow stars. That's my only, like, thing that I really want from this adaptation. If I could get anything, it would be, like, them playing Tusk and for Tusk to be pink. Scary Monsters, Diego, like when he's a full Velociraptor, I think they should make blue to fit with his outfit. It'd be kind of weird if they changed the color of the dinosaur from what Diego usually wears. And D4C is another thing where I can't really see it being another color than the blue that it is. So again, like Valentine's suit is pink, but his stand is that light blue. Well, Johnny's suit was that light blue, and his stand was pink, so they kind of worked off of each other in a way. But yeah, I don't see D4C looking any different. And the world obviously is just gonna be colored the same way. It's gonna be yellow. So yeah, those are my thoughts on what should be in the Steel Ball Run anime. I'm just grateful that it exists at this point, you know? Like, I don't really... The only things that I care about are the colors of D4C and Tusk, and that they choose a good old-fashioned country song. So, I know this isn't gonna get any views because it's just, like, meandering and trying to collect my thoughts, but I just wanted to tell you what I think. I think next few videos I'm going to be reacting to more of those like opening quiz, like choose one opening over the other, or choose your best. I think the next one I'm going to do is choose one from every year. I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm going to do next, because those are fun. And I don't care about what views I get anymore, you know? Like, my 2 subscribers will just watch the first minute of my video anyway. I'm just doing it for fun, you know? And more tier lists in the future. I just did that big old JoJo tier list. I might react to that one. That'd be like 2 hours long, but, you know, it's just fun. I think it's funny when I react to my own video. So, yeah, expect more tier lists and more of those quizzes thing. And if any more Steel Ball Run news comes out, I will be here. I also probably will make a video like this for JoJolion, but it will kind of be in a different context since we don't know anything about that anime. So, yeah, this is the